Alan, I have a question which is coach related. Now, because I had this conversation with a coach recently telling me, but I went through a coaching school, or I got some coaching preparation. And I'd like to learn what is all about this systemic fundamental dimension. We didn't talk about the systemic dimension, which is setting this program apart from others and this approach.
Now, there are two things actually set the program apart. I mean, there's a systemic dimension, which is a much more strategic approach to everything in life. Yeah. In other words, it's recognizing patterns, integrating external influences. It's not psychological based. A lot of the coaching are psychological based. They even bring psychological profiles in coaching, you know, with MBTI and so on and so forth. Systemic coaching is more about interfacing with other people and you know, communication skills focused on achieving results together. Mm-hmm. So it's more an interactive approach, we could say. In systems approach, people look more at what's happening between people than at what's happening within people. So it's not a psychological approach, my profile, you know, and so on, which makes it much more practical, because people, you know, when you say you need to change this in your behavior, they say, well, it's my personality. And that's a mix. In other words, personality is not behavior. Behavior can be learned. It's like learning how to play tennis or having a better backhand or a better service. It takes practice. No matter your type of personality, you can learn how to have a better service. That's behavior. So in the fundamentals, we're talking about behavioral skills. Just learn them, do them, learn them, do it. It's like practicing, you know, piano. Anybody can learn if you practice. So that's the approach. It's totally different from a lot of other coaching schools. The second difference is we're totally practice oriented. Okay, it's a behavioral approach, so you learn it by doing. Sometimes, I mean, I talk about a skill and say practice it, and somebody says, why should I do it? Well, you know, what's the logic behind it? Well, we can explain the logic, but basically the answer is do it 50 times and you'll understand why, because you'll see the result. You don't see the result of something you haven't done. Why should I learn how to swim? Well, learn how to swim and you'll, you know, or why should I do this movement when I'm learning how to swim? Well, do it 100 times and you'll know why you're doing it. So actually learning is behavioral more than intellectual. Yeah. The question why disappears when you've done it and you see the value in it and you see the results from it. Mm-hmm. So we're very behavioral in our approach. If you take it further and go to training and just listen to somebody talk about what he read, it's the same thing. Yeah. It even goes to learning how to use, I don't know, a computer. I could explain to somebody here, and within 10 minutes, he'll forget half of what I explained because it's too much. I could just give the keyboard to the person and say, okay, start, you know, pushing some keys and see what happens. And accompanying the person's behavior with the keyboard and asking questions. And that would be a coaching approach to learning by having the person doing it. Now, this is what happens actually in apprenticeship, which is very different from training. When you train an apprentice, you put him on the machine and you have him do it while you're observing and sort of guiding him. It's closer to mentorship. Most training in organizations is the complete opposite. I mean, you have a trainer talking all the time and showing PowerPoints. You have a few illustrations with demonstrations, and then the guys leave, but they haven't trained on the machine. And the machine is them, actually. They need to do it and do it and do it and do it. Yeah. It's an apprenticeship, actually, more than a training.